but Minister Khalifa Kumala here from ENCA, the issue around the proposition around social distancing moving from 1 meter to 0.5 meters, Minister. We've seen the unions. We've seen the unions, Minister, reacting to that. Maybe just your initial reaction and whether is this backed up by science?
You know what, Kylie, we look at all different measures that will help us to have as many learners as possible in schools. For instance, here that they're talking about rotation to get others coming in the morning, others in the afternoon. I have, for instance, advice where they say, yes, in other countries they still stick to a meter, but the advisor which I have is saying they don't see any difficulty with us reducing even the social distancing, and something that we have to engage with, both with health, both with the NCC and with unions. I can't go and negotiate on something which I don't have in hand. So I have them also consent to say they've not been consulted. I don't have that decision myself, so I can consult them. Then I go to NCC and NCC says nothing doing. But what I was saying when what I was saying is that we're going to look at different measures, whether we use school halls, we use platooning system, we use outside places, as you saw. And I heard all of them also screaming when you say, if there's a schoolyard, rather than get them to play at home, they'll come and play here, and then we see what is that we keep them busy with educationally. Our biggest, which the parents, also the SGB said, they want to see all their kids back at school. So we have to make sure that indeed we have them all back at school, but at all costs keep them safe. And that's why all the different proposals are really about how do we manage to bring them all back, but still being able to keep them safe.
And Minister, they also demand an urgent meeting. Is it something you are looking at?
Did they say demand? They're written a letter asking for a meeting. So we always meet, so we will meet with them and explain to them, give them a report, because initially we all agreed on the 1 meter. I'm here with my MECs to really assess if it's working out. We're going to meet as MECs to assess where we are. Some schools have been able to get fully their children back because they had spaces, they had halls, they had specialist room, so they were able to do that. Some are well resourced, they could have governing bodies, some have volunteers who are helping them. So we're going to assess where we are, what are the issues, what are the difficulties. And I'm saying the issues it's around space, it's around additional hands to assist when we social distance. And I told them in that letter. And then after I've met SCM, I'll come and talk to them. I mean, DG meets them weekly. So, not the demand, so we've agreed to meet. So we meet regularly. I talk to them regularly. They wrote me a letter to ask for a meeting, which I've agreed.
And obviously, I mean, Minister, it's a bit of a very extraordinary time for the sector. Do you have a number of the schools that perhaps have shut down simply because there's quite a massive number of learners there? Do you have like any particular figure so far?
Not since we reopened recently, because we've just reopened, so I don't have statistics of any shutdowns. The shutdowns were in the last term during the advent of the third wave. So I don't have them offhand. How many schools did we have to shut down? But we had quite a number of challenges.
Zero in the Free State.
We had 0 shutdowns in the Free State. I think it would have been in provinces because the shutdowns normally, we find them matching the infections in the province. So Gauteng had high infections, so they would have had a number of schools shutting down, and mainly because of the high infections in the provinces, because infections are imported to us from communities. So half the time we find that we have infections when there are high infections in that community. Northern Cape at some stage had high infections as a province, then we had high infections in schools. And we had to, and sometimes, as I say, sports also. Schools that have contact sports, we also realize that we're getting lots of infections in schools where they are, where contact sport, and that's why we had said contact sports should be stopped for a little so that we are able to manage. So Hope can give you the numbers. In the previous term we have, but now I don't have any report of any school that had to shut down. But it's still too soon. We've just reopened, so I really don't want to say, we're clean. I'm sure we'll be getting reports if there are problems, but they normally match infections in communities.
And Minister, when are you going to the Cabinet? You've made an indication that you might be going to the Cabinet to table this particular proposition around social distancing.
It's a process. Before Cabinet, I have to go to the Ministerial Advisory Committee, but that opinion we had sought from them. So with them, we have to go to the NET Joint, because NET Joint prepares documents for the National Corona Control Council, and then that council is the one that will table, not me. The resolutions that come from NCC will be, so they have to approve first. If they're also not comfortable, they will say, wait, we want to do investigations. So it's going to be a process, but I do want, and I did say to the Minister of Health, if I could finish the process by end of August, because we have given ourselves deadline to say, let's do whatever we can do to ensure that all learners are back. But I really want to assure people, we'll not do it at all costs. We don't want to have any casualty or any problem in our hands. We won't do it at all costs. But we'll try hard, within the means that we have, to bring back as many learners as possible. So I'm glad here the principal says he's managed to do 80%. I'm fine, and he's doing 80% of the most critical phases. All grade R's are here, so I'm happy about that. The whole foundation phase, grade 1s are here, grade 2s are here. He says he has difficulties with 3 and 4, with 4 and 5. 4, 5, 6. That's the area he's got challenges with. And then grade 7s, he says he's got all of them. So different schools will have different challenges. One of the key things we are saying, grade 7s have to come back because they're going to high school next day. Our recovery program, it's a phase program. So grade 7s are technically your senior phase. They are senior phase 7, 8, 9. And because they are going to another school, schools won't be able to recover. Schools won't know how far they've gone, what were the gaps, what needs to be taught. So at least if we can finish the curriculum for grade 7s, we'll be ready, we'll be happy. And then with the other phases that we are still in control of, your foundation and your intermediate phases, the recovery, it's a 3 years program. So we'll be able to know the grade 4s when they go to grade 5, what topics were skipped, which have to be taught. And that's why we really do feel that we can deal with the other internal grades, but grade 7 has to come full time. And the foundation, the ECD, I really think the grade R's, they have to come here full time.
Maybe just a quick one, Madam Minister. The issue around the dropout rates and stuff, and obviously this has been precipitated by coronavirus among other factors. What would be your message to the parents, the guardians, to make sure that they save this generation from this catastrophe that is, awaiting?
Actually, that's one of the biggest concerns that we have, that we are insisting to try and have to have all the learners back at school, because we are able to manage attendance, but if they come in tens, we don't even know who's supposed to be at school, who's not supposed to be at school. Even communities don't know who's supposed to be at school. But if in the community you know that all kids are back to school, if you see a 7-year-old, you can ask them to say 10 o'clock, what do you want here? So even communities can assist us to make sure that kids are encouraged to stay at school. But also working parents, the child's going Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It can be quite also upsetting for young parents who have other responsibilities to be monitoring. Sometimes in other provinces it's a week. So they're not coming to school. And we know education, for some reason, kids love it, but if they can just get alienated, they get completely disaffected, and it becomes very difficult to get them back if they've dropped out. So we want to avoid as much as possible any of our learners dropping out, because if they've dropped out, it's a big problem. I know most schools and communities have programs where they follow up when kids are not coming. They send other kids to check why they're not here, to check if they've moved to other places. Some parents, you think children have dropped out until they have capacity to homeschool. So it's all those things which are disruptive if we don't have a full-time schooling. But it is one of the major threats that we are facing with COVID-19 attendance, which is very irregular and very erratic.
Can we have another question from another middle house? And we want to close now. Okay, Minister, I'm Katla from OFM. My question relates more to pediatrics. My question relates more to pediatrics. It seems as if that's another issue that your department is tackling with. What would you say regarding that? How are you guys eradicating pediatrics?
No, we're on track. You know, every Friday, 7 o'clock, I meet with my infrastructure team to get them to tell us what the progress is. We had some delay last year with the program of pediatrics because construction had to stop. When we reopened, there was scarcity of material, so there were some delays, but we've picked up the momentum. We're able now to report progress. We are almost on track with our, because it was a 3-year program. So we're just recovering the time we lost in 2020. We're speeding up. As I say, I meet every Friday. I meet with my infrastructure team to monitor and see if there are difficulties and try to resolve them. So it's one program which is going quite well, relatively well. But if you meet a pediatrician today, you must check if it was meant to be done in 2021 or 2022. So I know what journalists do. You say, I'm going to do 3,000. If they meet pediatrician number 3,000, they ask you to say you're going to eradicate pediatricians, but here's one. Or else I said I'll do it in 3 years' time. So judge me in 2022 when the 3 years period ends. We've done quite a number of them. I don't have the figures. I don't want to mislead you. We can also give you, if you're interested, to say how many have we done thus far, which ones are at construction phase, which ones are on a tender phase, which ones we, in terms of our planning, will have done by the end of 2021, how many will be outstanding for 2022. But our commitment is that all those that have been identified by 2022, which is a 3 years program, we will have done all the pediatrics that are in our books. Because Treasury has given us money for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister. Can I just give the message just to make it closer to my stand?
Okay.
No. Now I can just say thanks. You want me to come this way?
Okay.
No, I can just say thanks to the Minister and thanks for your visit. I think the major issue really here that we are facing is the learning loss. That our learners would reach higher grades without having understood everything in the grades where they are in. And I think this is an issue as a country, as journalists, as media, everybody must be attending to. And as the Minister says that we are trying to do everything within the constraints of the health protocols. But in the Free State, I can tell you that there are areas, Minister, where almost all the learners are back. For an example, yesterday when I was there, all the learners in Maluta Fofung are back at school, 100%, because they've got quite a number of schools there. They're bigger schools, and then the learner numbers are affording. So in the province in general, we've got about 53% of the schools in the province, all of the learners are back at school. So we are now just dealing with these other ones, the mega schools, the big schools, the learners with, some schools here, Bomatla, big schools with more than 2,500 learners. And this is where we said that we are going to interact with the principals, the teachers, to look at all the options, including platooning. Because we believe that it's better for a child to come for 2 hours or 3 hours in the school than not coming at all. And then we even raised an issue, Minister, I don't know whether you will sanction me for that one. I even said to the principals, maybe we need even to identify which subjects to focus on. So that given that we don't have enough time, we can't teach all the subjects. Therefore, we agree that at primary schools, we may have to focus on numeracy, that is mathematics and so on. We may have to focus on language, literacy. And once we have addressed those two, at least children can be able to cope up on all the other subjects. And this is what we are looking at. We are looking at various ways to ensure that our children continue to be motivated. And I don't know whether you have picked up also with this concept that we have of talking walls. That we want even our children, when they are outside, they can continue to learn. And this is where the Minister is going to help us with teaching assistants, because they don't have to be teachers to teach children, to show them that that is R, A, E, O, U there. And as children can play, they can be going on swings, R, A, E, O, U. And this is real. We want to make primary schools fun and exciting. And I think that's what we are going. So COVID is forcing us to think differently. You know, we're not just saying this is what the rules say and therefore we must stick by the rules. We want to understand what the outcome is supposed to be and how do you use the conditions that you have to still reach that outcome despite the challenges that we have. I think we have covered everything. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, members of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My hand.
All right, that was a briefing there by the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga. That briefing taking place in Mangaung after she has visited quite a number of schools in the area to just check how they are doing since the return of primary school pupils to full-time learning. It's been difficult. Mixed reports in various provinces. In fact, the Western Cape reported on Monday that over 80% of the schools there were reporting that they simply wouldn't be able to return pupils to full-time learning. So a number of issues coming up from that briefing, including issues to do with the proposal for social distancing, the distancing, let's call it physical distancing, the distancing between pupils in schools. It's merely a proposal at this point, and the minister saying that she will be taking that to cabinet, the various structures within cabinet to be discussed, whether to reduce it from 1 meter to half a meter, because the reality of this week has exposed that it is difficult in the schooling context. Also talking about the recovery programs as they apply to the various phases throughout the schooling career from grade R all the way to grade 12, what the plans are for that, and also addressing briefly the issue of the dropout rates. I'm particularly concerned about that because it has a direct impact on our future, inequalities, income prospects, and what people will become in 10 years' time or so.